I would say that we need our Ministry of ICT to actually forge greater collaboration with Parliament, with the judiciary, and the private sector, so that all sectors have the competence to ensure that the decisions being made by courts, the decisions being made by Parliament by way of the laws we are passing, are enablers more than they are obstructors to growing, but that they are also protective and are ensuring safety within the sector.
The drivers of economy going into the future will be the technology. The traditional economy of oil, the traditional economy of tea, coffee, exports of labor mobility will take a backseat as we go to the future where we are going to have digital economy. We can regulate the use of internet and technology, but we should not regulate to stifle. The issue of artificial intelligence, we should only look in terms of regulation, not bringing the law. And that is why when somebody wanted to bring an act of parliament or a bill proposal on artificial intelligence, it is not something you can legislate on AI. AI will keep being dynamic, will ever change, it will grow, the technology will grow on a daily basis.
Now, yes, all presentations have indicated that we still have about 2.2 billion people in the world who are not connected and who are underconnected. And among this, a lot of these are within our region. Africa has the least levels of connection in terms of both unconnected and underconnected. And we also still have the other traditional divides in terms of gender. The women are less connected because of different parameters, including socio-cultural environments. The internet expense in Africa is highest in the world. The rest of the people spend less than 1% of their salaries around expenses on internet use, while in Africa it is over 4%. Lesser regulation, greater investment in digital literacy, and greater investment in digital public infrastructure that will enable the private sector and other actors to partner for a faster growth in the sector.
Many people see people who are using internet and technology are people who do not have serious professions. And I think even in a family setup, you find parents who are frowning upon young men and women who are on social media. Let us not be quick in passing laws and regulations that will stifle the growth of internet. We need to make sure affordability of internet and accessibility is cheaper and affordable, so that it does not appear luxury, so that we catch up with the rest of the world. The decisions that should come from jurisprudence, that should come from courts of law in Kenya, should not be interpreted to mean that they are stifling the growth of technology and internet.
You can have somebody situated in the USA employing somebody in Kenya in their house, and that is good. In terms of on the positive side, it means that our young people can get jobs anywhere in the world. But with that has been the flip side in terms of the exploitation of the labor regimes, particularly within the third world, to actually exacerbate some injustices, labor injustices, where a tech worker in Kenya doing exactly the same job as the one in the USA is underpaid, sometimes by as much as more than 20 times underpaid. Now, in this instance, that's why we will need a minimum level of international agreement, because you can't just make the law in Kenya alone. You would need to be able to agree at the across the countries to be able to say, how can we allow open internet but respect human rights? And respect human rights includes actually not taking advantage of the fact that the employment regime in Kenya is not as strict, is not as stringent and the fact that Kenya has a lot of unemployed people, you then have a company, a private company, riding on the backs of vulnerable Kenyans to actually make off money. So we need to have a clear conversation and employment laws that will probably insert a few minimums that would ensure that some ethical standards are infused in employment contracts, so that if you are employing and you are paying somebody working from home in America, you are compensating them for the fact that they're not using office. You are compensating them for the bundles. But you come to Kenya because the minimum wage enforcement is not as serious in Kenya. You then decide you are going to pay something that is despicable as $2 an hour. I think that is something that we need to find a way of conversing at the multi-level sector, at the intergovernmental, in order to bring in some protections. I'd like to indicate that I'm a member of the Interparliamentary Union, and the Interparliamentary Union recently in October passed a resolution around AI, basically urging parliaments to watch out and to ensure that as laws are done on internet, respect for human rights, respect for labor rights, respect for gender, things like those should be a minimum that each country should be put in place. We are also developing a charter. The IPU has developed a charter on science and technology that seeks to encourage innovation in science and technology, but to ensure that as technologies are developed and as they are deployed, that they do not cross the line when it comes to respect for human rights and so on. And it's not just the labor sector. We will have to come up with laws, for instance, to find how to deal with a predator who is exploiting children. The offender is seated in America, the child is in Africa, the server is in India.
Correct.
How do you deal with that kind of issue? We will have to rethink how international policing will have to be done in order to protect that child. So in the same manner, I would say that one, we need to find a way of highlighting, and that might even be by naming and shaming companies that are actually doing this kind of thing.
The International Labour Organization Charter must be amended to reflect the new way of doing labor and fair remuneration, because one of the cornerstones of labor rights, as the Senator has said, is fair remuneration, fair working conditions, medical cover and insurance. All those are in the Charter of International Labour Organization. So we need International Labour Organization Charter to be amended to reflect on the new working environment, digital or remote working environment. You get somebody in Kenya working for a firm in America. So how do we ensure that, should they be paid in dollars or should they be paid in shillings? Even as we do monetization of online working, we should also be very magnanimous or very fair in terms of taxation. I know to many governments across the world, they are now itching to tax this online, this digital work. They work online. Somebody can say you are making money, but you are not paying taxes. But how should we ensure that as they are being paid less, we don't tax them so that they don't get value for the work they do? So even the regime of taxation must adapt with the ever-changing dynamics, even in acquisition of property, because now with the online work, there's no remote working. People will want to be paid in America. They might want to purchase property there in terms of opportunities that are there. So in as much as there are positivity in terms of working online, the challenge is, in the last session, we considered the mental health bill. Now that we have mental wellness, we have the Mental Act in place. The Mental Act, in the last session in Parliament, we didn't factor in the challenges of online. Not only online working, but online bullying, as you have said.
Let digital technology be a facilitator and an enabler for us, and let us do what it takes to ensure that it is not an obstructor.
Africa has, according to United Nations census, has the youngest population. Means this youngest population, if given opportunity in the digital economy, Africa will become the best tech